In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti, Amen. Veni Sancti Spiritus, repletorum colliviterium, et tui amoris in Dei sine macende. Emite Spiritum tuum et creabuntur.
Et nobis faciem terra.
Oremus, Deus qui colliviterium Sancti Spiritus, illustratione doco visti. Da nobis in eodum Spiritu recte sapere, et eas emigas in gaudere per Christum Dominum nostrum.
Amen.
Cum Maria Immaculatum.
Ora pro nobis.
Sancte Ioannes Leonarde.
Ora pro nobis.
Sancte Dionysia.
Ora pro
In
nobis.
nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Okay, we continue the Catechism. We left off on page 146, number 247b. If a government commands citizens to violate the law of God, they must refuse to obey, for according to St. Luke, we must obey God rather than men. So that goes, for example, like for the shots that are not just rumored to be involved with aborted babies' cells and kidneys and organs, but it's a fact. It's proven fact. It's revealed by doctors and nurses who witnessed it, that babies were literally born and ripped apart, their cells taken out while alive with no painkiller, and these things are put into the vaccines. Any nurse or doctor who spoke up, they were censored off of internet. Whenever I mentioned this in any sermons, it was instantly censored off internet, and because they know it's true, and it's frightening what they're putting in this stuff. Plus heavy metals, and it is proven now that all these vaccines, at least most of them, do have aborted baby cells. And one doctor, is a Polish name, admitted to it. And for the vaccines they have, what is it? 200 something EK. There's another letter in front of that. Anybody remember? Something EK. But what it means is it's the 200th embryonic kidney. And he admitted that under oath at a court case, that they have killed this many babies to get the kidneys, the kidney cells. So it's nothing, secret conspiracy. It's very open, it's very public, but it's foul. Plus they load it with heavy metals, these vaccines, loaded with heavy metals, and a bunch of other poisons. And then one of the big effects is it sterilizes the girls and it sterilizes the men. They don't want children. That's another effect of it. Plus all the other horrible effects with blood clots, athletes dying of heart attacks at age 20, 30. It's just unheard of. And then the funeral morticians are pulling out of the veins long rubbery clogs. They can't explain what it is, this rubbery material inside their veins. And they've never seen anything like this. It all came out at the whole COVID scam. So it's just one huge gigantic scam to kill off, sterilize. And Bill Gates, for goodness sake, he said it publicly at a whole college talk and got a standing ovation where he said, we need to depopulate the whole world. We got to depopulate for the environment. Everybody cheers. And then he says, and a good way to bring this about will be by the vaccines, out of his own mouth. So there's no secret about this. There's no hidden conspiracy. It's right out of their own criminal mouths. And the bishops, to their shame, went right along with it. Including, surprisingly, even Bishop Sanborn. I was surprised that he went along with this, approving the vaccines. And then the SSPX, of course, was silent. Those bishops were silent and went along with it. And the new SSPX, of course, demands it. For example, in New York, all the children must be shot to be coming to school. They have to have their shots by New York state law. So the sisters and the society priests are cooperating with that when they're deeply involved with immorality and all these bad effects. So many families took their kids out of the school. You know, they're not going to poison their own kids. So, anyway, if the government demands immoral things, we don't cooperate. So, there was a study done with the Amish children. How come they never got COVID? Well, because they never got shots. And why didn't they run to the Walgreens to go get their shots? Because they don't have TV to be brainwashed. So if the government demands things like this, we don't have to cooperate. And the bishops should be condemning this in the United States. But they cooperated themselves. They got $3 billion to shut up, to be quiet, and cooperate. You wouldn't get that if they were saying the Tridentine Mass and keeping the faith of Pius X and not the Novus Ordo. 248. Why are we obliged to take an active part in works of good citizenship? Anthony?
We are obliged to take an active part in works of good citizenship because right reason requires citizens to work together for the public welfare of the country.
What are the chief duties of those who hold a public office, Michael?
The chief duties of those who hold public office are to be just to all in exercising their authority and to promote the general welfare.
Go ahead, Wisdom 6:3-4.
Give ear, you that rule the people, and that please yourselves in multitudes of nations. For power is given you by the Lord, and strength by the Most High, who will examine your works and search out your thoughts.
Yeah, so those are words to put fear into rulers. They should fear God, because any injustice, any oppression of the poor, any immorality, they will pay heavily for it. That's why there's probably a lot of politicians and leaders in hell, in the church and in the state. What does the fourth commandment forbid, Guadalupe?
The fourth commandment forbids disrespect, unkindness, and disobedience to our parents and lawful superiors.
Go on.
Children sin mortally when they fail to give the respect and love due to their parents by hating them, unjustly threatening them, or striking them, by seriously insulting or ridiculing them, by wishing them serious evil, by treating them heartlessly, by disregarding them when they are in grave need, by cursing them, by causing them great sorrow, or by provoking them to serious anger.
What are these, venial sins or mortal sins?
Mortal sins.
Yes, very serious. And yet, look, this has become normal in many families. And it's not unusual that in the nursing homes, I've encountered this. Father, my son or my daughter put me here, emptied my bank account, and I never see him. I never see him. Very sad. Very, very, very tragic. B. Tony.
Children still subject to parental authority sin mortally by disobeying the just commands of their parents in serious matters. The command of parents to avoid bad companions, sinful reading, or immoral amusements, to receive the sacraments and religious instruction, to assist according to the law of church at Mass on Sundays and holy days of obligation, and to preserve the necessary order and peace of the home, must be considered as ordinarily binding under serious obligation. The disobedience of young children is frequently not sinful because of inadvertence, levity, or lack of seriousness on the part of parents who do not insist on their children obeying their commands under pain of sin.
C, go on.
Disobedience of children and of other subjects, even in slight matters, can become a grave sin when the motive of the disobedience is serious contempt for the authority of parents and legitimate superiors.
Yeah, so all of the movies, Hollywood movies, rock and roll music, and then their message is all about this. Throw off your parents. They're old fuddy-duddies. Don't listen to them. They don't know. They're from another age. And it's really wicked. And behind that cultural revolution is definitely communism and Freemasonry. See, we did. The Deuteronomy 27:16. Karen?
Cursed be he that honoreth not his father and mother. And all the people shall say, Amen.
Next, Romans 13:7.
Render to all men whatever is their due. Tribute to them, whom tribute is due. Taxes to whom taxes are due. Fear to whom fear is due. Honor to whom honor is due.
What is the fifth commandment of God, Andres?
The fifth commandment of God is thou shalt not kill.
Go on.
Killing which is forbidden by this commandment means taking the life of a human being unjustly. Animals may be killed for man's reasonable need or convenience. Hunting, fishing, and using animals for scientific purposes are permissible. To kill or injure animals without a good reason is sinful, but it is not a violation of this commandment.
Yes, so being just cruel to animals, which boys can be, get a kick out of torturing frogs or fish, but they have to be instructed, no, you don't treat animals like that. Even St. Francis of Assisi was known to, when he was walking along the path, he would even pick up earthworms and move them out of the way so they wouldn't be stepped on. Of course, he saw in the earthworm the image of Christ. How?
Because of Psalm.
The psalm where it says, "Ego sum vermis et non homo."
Yes, I am a worm and no man. So Christ calls himself a worm in his passion, stepped on, spit on, crushed, which he was. So St. Francis would see that in the earthworm. You were going to say?
Oh, I read it somewhere that the ancient Greeks, they would take young boys that they saw were excessively cruel animals and they'd put them to death.
Put the boys to death?
Yes.
Wow. Well, probably because they knew they would grow up being cruel to their wives.
Yep.
Too cruel to their children. That often happens. So they certainly have to be corrected. There's a movie of Saint Maria Goretti. It's done by the Italian group, and they're overall pretty good. And they show Alessandro torturing I think it's a frog. Just having a joy in killing a frog. And that has to be always corrected in children if you ever see that. So, thou shalt not kill. So that includes, a little baby has its own heartbeat in the mother's womb after, 20 days, 21 days? It already has its own heartbeat.
I think so.
It already has its own DNA and its own blood system, circulation system. It has all the cells working. So, and they try to argue, well, it's just a blob. Well, but a lot of these, they know it's a baby. Like one guy said to a lady going in to get her abortion, why do you want to do this? There's other options. There's adoption. And she just turned around. She didn't say, I don't want my blob anyway. She said, I don't want my baby anyway. So they know. I can't see how any woman can be that stupid and not know that they're killing another human being in their own womb. They try to cover it with the evolution arguments, but I think in their soul, in their conscience, they know. And that's why they hear screaming. Many of these women who have abortions, they hear the baby screaming. And when they get older, they remember the baby. Oh, he would be, or she, 15 years old now, 16 years old now. And even the men who support the abortion and pay for it, I know of some cases where they also heard the baby screaming. Right? So, thou shalt not kill, Exodus 20:13. What are we commanded by the fifth commandment, Andres?
By the fifth commandment, we are commanded to take proper care of our own spiritual and bodily well-being and that of our neighbor.
A, go on.
Man does not have supreme dominion over his own life. He was not the cause of its beginning, nor may he be the deliberate cause of its end. Man must use the ordinary means to preserve life. He is not, however, obliged to use extraordinary means, which would involve relatively great expense or intolerable pain or shame.
Okay, so that regards, Father, our grandmother's dying. They have her on a breathing machine. Without that machine, she can't breathe. And what do? And the answer of the church by her moral theology is, you're obliged to give her food and water and clothes, of course, food, shelter, clothing, the basic necessities. You're obliged to do that. And you're also obliged to use ordinary means. And you'll cover this later in moral theology, but IVs, intravenous feeding, is not considered extraordinary means. It's considered ordinary means because it's very accessible, very easy. Those are not considered extraordinary means. So starving them by giving them no food, even by IV, is murder. Right? So, but the big machines that are very expensive to work every day and on which their whole life depends, such as making them breathe, well, they're not obliged to use extraordinary means, the family. So the church teaches they must give it ordinary means, but they can detach extraordinary means. But if grandma detached from the breathing machine, she starts breathing on her own, which does happen, then they must support her all they can by natural means, by ordinary means. You follow?
Yes.
So today they start cutting off ordinary means, which is very gravely sinful. Yes?
Would that be because, for example, if somebody is on the point of death, they have some kind of machine which is basically pumping their heart, so they live, but they're at the point of death and you're kind of artificially holding them there? Is that kind of related to it? Because you're basically artificially pumping the heart, but
Well, it's extraordinary means. They're depending on the machine to live, totally. So the church says you may lawfully detach the extraordinary means, but if they live on, you must give all the ordinary means. And today I noticed in my many years as a priest now, a lot of nurses in hospitals are negligent on basic, ordinary food and water. I've noticed that, especially water. They need water. I mean, we're 75% water, the human body. So when they deprive the person of water, which is often the case, they're just dehydrating the person, and it just leads to more problems, right? The average sickness, the average cold, the average headache, the average, diseases are often rooted in lack of water. It's just called dehydration. And most people are, apparently some doctors say, most people are dehydrated because they drink coffees, sodas, and artificial drinks, but rarely drink water, right? So, anyway, that needs to be stressed because the tendency in most hospitals now is towards death, to support death. And that's why the family has to be right there with their loved ones. Don't leave them. Be there all night with them. Take turns. And make sure they're getting water, even by sponge. I remember one case, pray for her, Mrs. Moffat, out in Idaho. I visited her, brought her extreme unction. She couldn't receive communion because she couldn't swallow. But her tongue she was breathing heavily through her mouth. And I told her husband, make sure the nurses keep her mouth moist, because she can't breathe through her nose, it seems, so make sure they keep her tongue moist, and put even Vaseline on her tongue to keep it moist. I came in 2 days later, her tongue was shriveled black, like a black plum. Horrible to see. And you know how painful that is? You know when your tongue gets dry and cracks? It's painful. Imagine your tongue like a black plum, like a prune, a black prune. That's what her tongue was. And I was just disgusted with the nursing there. Because, anyway, her husband had to go home and take care of many other things. And anyway, the many nurses are negligent on this. This is why this kind of behavior would never happen with Catholic nuns who were nurses. Sisters who were nurses, they see Christ in their patients. So the attitude is totally different than treating them like a number. They treat them like Christ himself. All right. B, man is obliged to use prudent means in order to preserve his health and the health of those under his care. So basic food, shelter, clothing, etc. What does the fifth commandment forbid, Anthony?
The fifth commandment forbids murder and suicide, and also fighting, anger, hatred, revenge, drunkenness, and bad example.
Yeah, and also drugs. People who go on to marijuana. The marijuana is usually a mortal sin when used for the euphoria, to get high. And marijuana also, what's very bad about it is it's addicting. And it leads usually, in 98% of the cases, to harder drugs. It opens the door to harder drugs. They want a bigger high. And then they get terribly addicted. Like fentanyl that's coming in from the South America is killing many every day. I think it's 300 or 400 every day. People are dying from just fentanyl. So any serious drug use is a mortal sin. And when people get addicted to this, it's very tragic because they can go to all these recovery centers, rehabilitation. They get out, and within a few years, they're back to it again. It's a cycle, and it's awful. It's a miracle if people can break free from, especially drugs. And I think through the rosary they can, by Our Lady's help. But some people get innocently trapped into this. They don't realize what they're getting into. All right, A, murder, go on, is the voluntary and unjust killing of a
human being.
Go on.
It is a serious crime because it is an infringement on the right of God's dominion over human life, and it is an irreparable injustice to the victim, to his family, and to society.
Yes, the martyrdom of St. Stephen, you see his picture here. St. Stephen, deacon and first martyr, giving the admirable example of the pardon of his enemies. Kneeling with his eyes lifted up to heaven, he addresses to God his touching prayer for the Jews who are stoning him. Lord, do not lay this sin against them. Acts 7:60. Suddenly heaven opens before him. God looks at him with pleasure with his arms extended towards him. An angel offers him the palm of martyrdom, and another shows him the crown that awaits him. At the bottom of this picture, on the left, are
Esau and Jacob
being reconciled to each other, while on the right, St. Cyprian is about to be beheaded. His friends are paying the executioner 25 gold pieces, having been ordered to do so by the saint. So St. Cyprian wanted to make sure his executioner had a good tip to send him straight to heaven. St. Cyprian was a bishop, and he shares the feast day of September 16th with St.
Cornelius.
Yeah, we just had that not too long ago. Pope and martyr. The two martyrs are mentioned together in the canon of the Mass. All the scenes of this plate relate to the commandment, thou shalt not kill. All right, page 148 on top, B, Michael.
The life of another person may lawfully be taken. First, in order to protect one's own life, or that of a neighbor, or a serious amount of possessions from an unjust aggressor, provided no other means of protection is effective.
Right, so self-defense is permitted. And the new laws that are coming in the past 5-7 years, you're not allowed to defend yourself, basically. If you got someone breaking in with a rifle in your house, you shoot him, guess who goes to jail? In England and coming here in the U.S. too.
You do.
The homeowner. It's crazy. But that's also communist. That's one of the communist tactics. The innocent are the guilty. So yes, self-defense is perfectly legitimate. You can kill someone who's coming on you to kill you. But if he's coming on you with just his fists, is that proportionate to kill him?
No.
No.
Just to
No. So it has to be a proportionate and serious reason to kill another person. If he's coming at you with a killing instrument, you may self-defense. And in moral theology, you will study that even if you can avoid killing him, you must take that route. So if he's coming at you with a knife, you can shoot him in the leg to cripple him, and then tear the knife out of his hand. Right? Yes.
That would change, wouldn't it, for say like a female or an older man, if a big, strong man's coming to beat him up or beat her up, then if she has something like a gun,
Oh,
she
yes.
can shoot him.
Yeah, in those cases, yes, it would be a legitimate self-defense. That's right. So, thou shalt not kill, but there are some exceptions, and here they are. It's very important because many Protestants don't make exceptions, and they carry it too far. So I'm not going to go to war if my country's being attacked. I'm not going to kill anybody. Well, if your country's being attacked in a just war, it's a sin not to defend your country, or your house, or your wife, or your family. Yes.
So if you see somebody attacking another person, then you can defend this person that's being attacked.
That's right.
By that person.
Yes, and you can kill them to defend your neighbor. Yeah.
Just do as much as you possibly need to do to defeat them.
Yes. That's right. That's why that's why the police, people have to be careful with the police because they're trained. Any sign of a gun, they're going to shoot. Even if it's a squirt gun, even if it's any sign, so people can't be stupid with police. They think it's a game and they come out with an unloaded gun to scare the police, but the police don't know that, right? So many police, they're going to shoot because they're trained to do this, and they're right to do that because, it's not wrong of the police to do this, but people shouldn't play games with the police, that's for sure. And I'm speaking good police, just police who have the right intention. Second reason why you can kill someone. Go ahead, Michael.
By a soldier fighting a just war.
Yes, just war. That's correct. Third.
By a duly appointed executioner of the state when he metes out a just punishment for crime.
Yeah, so someone has to do the execution. In the old days, the executioner wears a bag over his head with 2 eye holes so that nobody really knows who it is. And that's healthy for society because that guy still has to go shopping. He still has to go see a doctor. So if everybody sees, oh, there's the town executioner, we don't want anything to do with him. So there's a wisdom to the old ways, right? And someone who does the job of executioner, he is doing God's will, believe it or not. And he can save his soul. Are there any cases of executioners that were canonized saints? I don't know. I haven't heard any that I'm aware of. But I suppose they can be. Because they're the arm of justice for the state, right? which is perfectly legitimate. The state can do capital punishment, and that is taught by St. Thomas Aquinas. It is taught by all the sound theologians down till Vatican II, when they started introducing a new theology on this point. So people scream, oh, you don't have the right to take people's lives. Well, if someone has committed murder, or several murders, the state can condemn him to death. This is not against any Catholic teaching. Oh, but it's against the fifth commandment. You shall not kill. Well, there's an exception, isn't there? 3 of them. 3 of them. So truth, God lays a lot of laws, but often there's exceptions, right? And these are 3 of them. So the 3 exceptions are self-defense, soldier in war, the executioner, the capital punishment guy. 3 exceptions, right? That's important. Okay, is that time?
Yes, ma'am.
We'll stop there. Agitorium nostrum in omnium.
Intercedum et